as we'll get to next, they're not done looking for players, supposedly. We can move on. So the Sabres supposedly have been talking to Mark Giordano. Mark Giordano's agent, he went on a podcast recently and reported that among a few other teams, which I think included the Oilers, the Flames, and the Maple Leafs, the Sabres were the other team that they have been talking to. But his agent was quoted as saying, in Buffalo, who we're talking to, they've got young kids who could benefit. They're a little worried with his pedigree. Will he be happy with the ice time? Will he be happy if he's a part-time player? Ultimately, Gio has to make a decision as to what will help him accomplish his goals.
hmm Uh, I mean, when I first heard that news, I was like, okay, you know, and then I realized he's 40. He also shoots left-handed. Like, is he, I don't know, could he play on the right side?
He's been good with Toronto. It's just they have deployed him, as he should be. He's on the third pair in super limited minutes. And he's doing his thing. I think that the reason that I got kind of excited about this is he's definitely better than Henry Okiharu and probably Connor Clifton, but you don't want him on the second pair with Owen Power most likely. So, it
Eric
ah man,
Johnson type beat.
that was the other thing I was thinking. I'm like halfway through, and I'm like, this veteran presence guy who's been around. This is kind of Eric Johnson 2.0, huh?
Yeah, striking resemblance to.
But he's put up better results than Johnson did in Colorado. So
Man, I don't know. Am I crazy for saying that like I was still holding out hope that I'm not saying I really wanted the guy, but like Jacob Trouba seemed like an interesting idea like a few months ago.
I think if he
I
was signing for like $2 million, but I don't know. I feel like his reputation boosts him a bit. It's interesting, but like I think he had a horrible playoffs, but he was supposedly playing hurt, and I think just him being the captain of the biggest American team in the league, it doesn't do him any favors. So I would be interested to see how that would work here. But then again, like he comes to Buffalo and immediately he's the fourth best defenseman.
right,
So
yeah.
I don't know. I think getting back to Giordano, they could do a third pair of him and Yoki Haru plus Clifton, and then maybe just try Samuelson in the top four, which I think could work. I'm fine with that. But I don't know. It's tough with Giordano because I think it makes sense from like yes, obviously he's 40 years old, is going to raise the Sabres average age by like 2 years, and he provides a lot of experience there. And I think it's more valuable than Eric Johnson because his play hasn't fallen off a cliff like Johnson's. Like, he was seemingly on the downward trajectory, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure he's one of the slowest players in hockey. And even his agent was saying how Giordano maybe wouldn't want to be a part-time player, and Buffalo, and it's the same thing where like he wants to be more top of the lineup, and it's like, dude, you're 40 years old.
I was
Like,
just
I'm
gonna say,
sorry.
like, dude, you're not a spring chicken anymore, man. You're probably the oldest player in the league left. You're 40. You're not even in your 30s anymore. You are the old guy. It's like you don't have any leverage in that situation when it comes to playing time. I mean, I understand you have a great track record, a great pedigree, and you know what? Maybe if you prove it on the ice, yeah, go for it. And I know the issue is he's been in the league so long. I'm sure he's done proving stuff to people because he's a seasoned vet. But once you get to this age, it's like you kind of gotta because when you get old, you know it happens.
It's
The aging
also
curve.
we're in September, so how many top of the lineup players are getting signed for league men
Right.
at in September? And I know that the whole thing is probably like, well, if I go to Buffalo, I should be a top of the lineup player. It's like I get it, but come on, dude. Like, can we be realistic here? If that's your ask, I'm sorry. It's just you can't. If that's like his holdup, then I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you put him on a pair with Owen Power and just try to limit his. Like if you're trailing in a game, you take him out and throw somebody else up there. But I don't know. I think the more interesting thing is if Buffalo really does want him, and he ends up and goes and gets signed for, he probably gets signed for like 900K to $1 million in if it's Edmonton or it's Toronto again, or even if he goes back to Calgary. That's kind of embarrassing because you could double his salary, just you could triple his salary, just like that. And
You just be like, here's 2.5. Here
yeah,
you go.
there you go. You give him the Eric Johnson contract from last year. It would just be kind of, I don't know, if this interest is true. Now we've seen it recently how agents maybe try to drum up. I mean, it is a bit suspicious. His agent is just going out and saying, "Yeah, he's talking to Buffalo, and this is what Buffalo's concerned about." He could be trying to drum up interest artificially, and Buffalo is obviously the team with probably the most cap space for a competitive team in the league. The only teams with more are tanking and or have RFAs still to be signed. So this could be artificial, it could be fake, and he's just trying to spark something. But if it's not, and the Sabres lose out because they don't want to go an extra mil, which they have more than enough to provide, it's another example of them not using all their
Hmm.
resources effectively.
Just proving the narrative's right at that point. Just I frustrating, very frustrating. Especially if you do want the guy, it's easy like that. Snap of the fingers.
In a week's time, I will be mad that they didn't sign a player I didn't even think about them signing the entire summer.
Is Nikolai Ehlers still available? Is that ship sailed yet? Please say no.
Maybe we can circle back at the deadline. I don't know. Hopefully,
Probably. That's
hopefully.
probably what it'll come down to.
All right, so we'll follow that story as we get into the season. Giordano will probably no matter what end up signing with a team. We will see if it is Buffalo.